So the first comment that I'll make here is that everything that I'm going to talk about is not an idea that I wrote in a book. It's not an advice that I got from someone. Everything that I'm going to discuss with you here has been tested. It has been based on empirical evidence. I am not a visionary leader. I, like any of you watching this, am not able to predict the future. There are only two types of people who predict the future. Keep this lesson in mind. Those who don't know and those who don't know that they don't know. What you see with great enduring leaders and organizations is that they are experimenting constantly. They're highly empirical. Through that empiricism and experimentation, they observe what doesn't work and they let go of that, and they observe what works. And once they observe what works, they try to understand why it works. And once they understand why it works, they scale that. So from a distance, they look like visionary leaders and organizations. From within, and I have had the privilege to be within most of these great enduring organizations that I'm going to discuss with you here as a leader, and in some cases as an advisor. From within, what you see is that they have incredible levels of discipline through the experimentation process that they undergo. And that is fundamentally through that process that they scale brilliance in their organizations, that they scale technology when it's applicable, and they scale value. So I'm indebted to these great enduring organizations that I'm going to share with you here in this journey. And this is just a sample of them and illustrate the broad variety of industries and organizations from which we gather these lessons. It doesn't mean that every one of these organizations has got to the pinnacle of excellence and innovation. By no means. They all have their own struggles. Some of them have reached the pinnacle, and some of them cannot stay at the pinnacle, and others are trying to achieve it. But what I'm going to share with you are the observations, what worked. This is over 30,000 excellence and innovation leaders in more than 120 organizations, several of which are not even portrayed here. But it's their practical approach to excellence and innovation acceleration that we're going to focus on. So the question is to you, what do you think matters most on this journey? Do you think that they got to be great enduring organizations or sometimes departments within great organizations because of their ideas, because of their methods, because of their technologies, or because of their people? So you don't have to tell me that. Answer that question to yourself. What do you think matters most on this journey to scale individual brilliance, technology, and value for organizations? So make the mental note, choose one out of these four, because we're going to talk about each one of them. I'm going to talk about the importance of ideas and how we need to create a meritocracy of ideas. And we need to have ample ideation organizations, different perspectives, new ways of thinking. And then I'm going to tell you that ideas are everywhere. What are uncommon are people in your organizations who are willing to put the reputation behind ideas. Then I'm going to shift to methods. And I'm going to talk about the fact that methods are critical because they provide a discipline framework for the execution of what creates value for the organizations, for the professionals, for the customers. But then I will also say that I have been a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt for nearly 3 decades. And for most people, that sounds like a dangerous mental condition. It doesn't help them. Because great enduring organizations know that methods alone do not transform businesses, people do. So we'll shift to technologies. José, I follow what you do across multiple industries and the support that you have for exponential technologies. Look at this conference. We're talking about robotics process automation. We're talking about intelligent automation, hyper automation, artificial intelligence. So technologies are great, right? Yes, because they can enable our processes to be better, faster, cheaper, higher quality. Wonderful. But remember this, technologies can also make stupid happen at the speed of light. Mark McGregor in his previous presentation talked about this. You know, you can be highly efficient on things that don't matter, or worse yet, you can very easy automate unnecessary complexity. So as a matter of fact, I should rephrase that. You do not do that easily. It's actually quite hard, but you can accomplish the automation of unnecessary complexity, which a lot of organizations are doing today by just throwing technology at problems that they don't even understand. So it must be about people, right, José? Because people are our most important asset. Well, remember, this is not a theoretical session. This is a practical session. If I look at the last 12 months of the pandemic, in a lot of the industries that I work with, people were let go. And the assets on those organizations stay mostly intact. So while it sounds nice, if people are the most important asset, why do they go first and the assets stay? This is an empirical approach, not a theoretical approach or some ideological approach that will make us feel better about the world. It is the world as it is. And as it is, people fundamentally are very important. But the reality, if you look at how organizations operate, especially in times of uncertainty and rapid change and stress, the reality is that there is special people in every organization. There are amplifiers of the culture, there are amplifiers of excellence, there are amplifiers of innovation, and those are the most important assets of the organization. And we all want to become that, by the way, and we'll discuss that. But it's not as simple as, oh, it's just people. It is about the right people in the organization. Those truly are the most important asset for every organization, and that's fundamentally who we all want to be, indispensable for organizations, indispensable for our customers, and indispensable for our societies as well. So, as you can probably gather, the world of greatness is filled with contradictions, forces that pull in very different directions. I said one good thing about every one of those items, and there was certainly a counterforce to everything that I said. And there are many more. And this is one of the first concepts that are critical to understand great enduring performance. It's not an or world. The world of greatness is an and world. And with contradictions pulling very different directions. And great enduring organizations and leaders, they master these contradictions. The mastery of contradictions is fundamental to achieve and sustain greatness. Keep in mind, but José, I don't see that very often. Yes, you're absolutely right. If it was that common, it would be mediocre. It is great because it is uncommon. And this is not a recipe, but it's a directional guidance to what it looks like when you get to see the thin slice of greatness. So the mastery of contradictions is critical on that journey. And there is no greater contradiction than the contradiction that I'm going to discuss of excellence and innovation. Because the forces of excellence are pulling you in one direction. It is about setting high performance standards and consistently and in a disciplined fashion, meeting and exceeding those performance standards. That's what excellence is all about. And very few organizations will ever reach that. But if you only do that, I guarantee you, you'll become obsolete over time. So you must think, whoa, I understand. We live in a time of exponential change where adaptation is incredible and change is incredibly important. Partially true. So you must think that the world of innovation is the one that's ultimately dominant. Innovative organizations are the dominant organizations, right? Wrong. If you actually research innovative organizations, the most innovative organizations, they die. And you don't even get to hear about them. What you see is what we call survival bias, are the ones who succeeded. And you start thinking that every innovative organization looks like that, but they don't. Organizations that are driven purely by innovation, they tend to scatter over time. They're not consistent with their purpose, and they disappear. You never hear about them. So it's not about the organizations that are excellent or the organizations that are innovative. Greatness requires the intelligent blending of excellence and innovation. And these two forces dislike each other. These two forces pull in very different directions. And we must be aware of that, because it's not the absence of conflict, it's actually thriving on that adversity that's caused in a culture by having a dual culture of excellence and innovation. Because if you're in the horse business, you can squeeze efficiencies out of the business to have healthier horses, longer living horses, stronger horses. But you also know that you don't get to design cars by squeezing efficiencies out of horses. The solution requires intelligent blending of these forces, the mastery of this and many other contradictions. It is about achieving excellence as a foundation, but also questioning the excellence and thinking about different ways you can do what that excellence has already achieved. And here's the catch: when you come up with the new way, the great innovation, you don't become dominant by continuously innovating on that. You become dominant by scaling that innovation better than anyone else can. And do you know how great enduring organizations scale innovation? They scale innovation by applying the principles of excellence to the innovation they created. You understand the interplay? Very critical interplay here that we're going to explore a bit further, because that's the beginning, but not enough. I'd like to shift from my advisory role to the role of actual leader of excellence and innovation in these organizations. And I'll highlight 5 organizations where I spent my career on becoming, through the last few decades. I'm originally from Brazil. I was educated in the United States, background in engineering, physics, and investment banking. And my first job was working for electronics giant Sony. I was super excited about that. My first week at work, my boss, his name is Shigo Hayashi, or Hayashi-san, had a task for me: identify 100 innovations in our ecosystem, which was basically technology development, and that time technology leader, Sony, and advanced manufacturing, and a combination of innovations in those environments. I look at Hayashi-san and said, Hayashi-san, I'm the new guy here. How can I possibly identify 100 innovations in this amazing place that was designed by the best scientists and engineers in the world? He looks at me and says, José-san, you must do. Didn't know what that meant. Did I wander into a Star Wars episode here and Yoda was telling me to follow the Force? What is this about? How can I possibly do that? I was hoping for some training. I was hoping for some, guidance and mentorship. There was not much of that. There was a test right there. So I'll summarize this for you, and each one of those organizations played a fundamental role in my own empirical understanding of greatness that I'll share with you. And at Sony, the lesson was simple. By the end of the first week, I was completely demoralized because I could not come up with 100 innovations in that place. I worked basically all day long and nights talking to people, learning about different ways that we did the work at the company. And I came up with like 20 or so items. And I had 100, I needed 100. So I'll short circuit the story by telling you that I sat down with Hayashi-san on Friday, and I had like 20 good items to talk about. So I put the best 10 in the beginning of my report, the next 10 at the end of my report, and I had a bunch of fluff in the middle. And what happened then is that I expected that he would just look at my report, read the beginning, and send me to my next assignment. He didn't do that. He sat down with me for over 4 hours, going item by item on my report, got to the middle of my report, which was the crappy portion of my report, looks at me and says, José-san, how come you're so stupid? Couldn't believe it. Something got lost in the translation from Japanese to English here. And the best answer I could come up with was, I don't know, just made me look dumber. So he looks back at me and says, your problem, you think too much like an engineer. You must learn to listen to the process. Well, that didn't help me. Listen to the process. Am I now in a Karate Kid movie here? Now, I was very distraught for the whole experience. The next week I come back, and when I come back, I'm expecting now I get some sort of training. Now I'm going to be assigned a mentor to start developing capabilities and skills. Hayashi-san comes back with a big smile, talking to me in Japanese. Ohayou gozaimasu, José-san. How are you? And he says, I have a new assignment for you this week. looks at me, and I ask him, okay, what is the new assignment? He looks at me and says, this week you identify 200 innovations. Ladies and gentlemen, I almost lost my mind at that point, because I was already down and I got kicked. So I thought, I'm gonna have to quit. I'm gonna have to go do something else. This is not gonna work. But through a lot of self-awareness, a lot of inner strength, if you will, I went on to identify 200 innovations in week 2. The reason I shared this with you, and there's a much longer version of this story that I have time for, is that Hayashi-san is one of the greatest mentors of greatness, excellence, and innovation I've ever had. To this day, we have a relationship. He still leads display design for Sony in Tokyo, and one of the greatest mentors of excellence and innovation. And the lessons are very simple. He could have sent me through training. He could have assigned me a mentor, done all the kind of the nice things that you want to do maybe for a new hire. But somehow, for some reason, he saw something potentially good at me that could be great, but he wasn't sure. So what he did, he tested me in a way that you test the people who have great potential. Instead of telling me what to do, he created a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms and told me, go do that. Because what he knew is that specifically when it comes to great innovators are not revealed by your gender, your race, your ethnicity, how many certificates you have hanging on the I love myself wall. Great innovators are revealed by the test of execution. Remember that. There's a lot of talk about innovation. There's a lot of talk about technology. Great innovators are only revealed by the test of innovation execution. Collaborative value creation leaders emerge from the test of innovation execution. And it's not about expertise. In the mind of an expert, there's only way. In the mind of the novice, there are many ways. It is about the intelligent blending of these mindsets. Another contradiction to be mastered. But remember this, the test of innovation execution will reveal the right people in your organization when it comes to accelerating and scaling leadership, technology, value creation, innovation. And they are only revealed by the test of innovation execution. And this process will reveal these individuals and their traits. And what you're going to find out if you do this with more than 30,000 people over more than 25 years, what you're going to find out is that select group of collaborative leadership, value creation leaders, what you're going to find is that they have 4 traits that are unique, and you only find those traits, they're only revealed by the test of innovation execution. They have purpose, passion, discipline, and resilience. Purpose, passion, discipline, and resilience are the common traits in this group, and you're going to be looking for that. Now, as I left Sony, I joined a startup company in California that changed the world. Cymer, today's Cymer ASML, develop excimer laser systems that allow Moore's law in semiconductor manufacture to still happen today and for many years to come. Argon fluorides, krypton fluorides lasers that image circuits at very, very small scales. It was an organization that went from nothing to over 90% market share in a period of 5 years. We had the most intelligent, brightest scientists in the world, but the challenge lied on scaling that excellence, on scaling that innovation that we had, and the individual brilliance that we had. And the lesson from there is the following. When you get the greatest, the smartest people in the room, often they don't make the best decisions. They spend too much time trying to outsmart each other. It's very important that you have a clear purpose, a common purpose, and then you develop collaborative leadership skills throughout your organization. Collaborative leadership skill development is another characteristic of great enduring organizations. As I left this incredible startup that changed the world, I joined an organization with more than 350,000 employees, 585 business units around the world. Nestle has multiple levels of culture. And the lesson from Nestle is simple. Culture eats the strategy for breakfast. Excellence and innovation are just side dishes that will get chewed up by the jaws of culture. So no matter what you're doing in your organization, be empathetic to the culture at multiple levels and meet them where they're at, not where you wish they would be. Meet them where they're at, show respect for who they are and what they're doing, and bring them along. In the next step, I was hired by the CEO of a global infrastructure company with nearly 13,000 pure engineers doing more than 10,000 infrastructure projects in over 110 countries. These were smart people who were doing this for over 100 years successfully. And I was told to go in there and let's transform our business, let's transform our culture. And here's what that journey looks like. A journey of excellence and innovation acceleration that did not only take 1 or 2 years, because any mediocre organization can do an improvement here, an innovation there, and have some level of success. The question here is, enduring greatness requires you to be at that level and grow that level over a decade or more. That's the standard. And very few organizations will do that, because even this organization, what I'm sharing with you here on this graph, is the performance of the system when they just instituted like Lean and Six Sigma and business process management, and they're doing quite well. They're focusing on ideas, they're focusing on methods. By year 6, they're developing great, they had great financially validated results, and they had 500 people. That's what that green number on top there represents. 500 people who are engaged on this. But there are 13,000 people in this organization. Is it possible they're missing on value here? My hypothesis is yes, but I needed to experiment. So I approach the CEO of the organization and I share the following statistics with him. Listen, we are on year 6 of this deployment here, and we should be proud because we're creating value, we're getting people engaged more and more. And another thing, if you look at the industry, 50% of organizations that started a journey like this on discipline, methods for excellence and innovation, 50% of them died by year 3. And 99% of them died by year 5. We made it by year 6. So we're part of the 1% club here, but we're not satisfied. We got to do better than this. And we flipped our assumptions. And our assumptions is that if we focus on ideas and methods and we select the people to lead those ideas towards value creation, we'll be in great shape. And the reversing of those assumptions included, you know what? Forget about ideas and methods and technologies. Let's find who are the right people. Well, we thought we knew. It's the people who HR tell you are on the fast path for growth, or the senior leadership members. They provide a list with the names, and we're training those people. Are those the best people in our organization? Are those the right people? They may be, they may not be. They're only revealed by the test of innovation execution. So I asked the CEO of the company, we're going to open this up. We're going to create a meritocracy of ideas with full access to anybody in this organization can be part of it. And here's the catch, but nobody is obligated to do anything. 100% voluntary. We only want volunteers. Nobody will be assigned, will only be volunteers. And what we did, and I remember still this conversation with the CEO, I had built a reputation with the CEO through the results over the years. He looks at me and says, man, that's quite a test. If it doesn't work, you got to be ready to go back. So that was the pressure on us. So we flipped these assumptions and we focus on the right people. People of purpose, passion, discipline, resilience. We opened it up. We taught them collaborative leadership skills. We taught them innovation acceleration skills. We did teach them methodology as well, but we emphasized to them that we're not interested in technocrats of methodology, because methods alone do not transform businesses. Remember that. People do. And by doing that, what we saw was unprecedented in the industry. Not only we maintained the level that we had amidst tremendous change and making everything voluntary, Once the skepticism lower and people realize this is for real, it's a true meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms, it doesn't matter what my title is, I can step up and become a collaborative leader. By focusing on the right people, we increase value creation by over 800%, and we increase voluntary engagement and leadership by 1,000% globally, winning multiple global awards for excellence, for innovation, for business, digital, and cultural transformation. And creating a culture of excellence and innovation as our ultimate competitive advantage that provides results to all stakeholders. So when I left that journey as an executive leader, I became an executive leader in the last company in my career. And that company had been in an amazing journey to become extraordinary. That is Endeavor Corporation, a Fortune 100 energy company here in the United States and globally. So the motto had become go for extraordinary. But I'd like to share it with you and have an appreciation for what they have gone through. In 2010, this company was valued as a $2 billion enterprise. This is a public company, valued at $2 billion after the 2008 financial crisis that really hit them very hard. And what they saw is that their market valuation was less than the book value of the assets of the company. That's how poorly the market saw the potential of this organization. We had a CEO that came on. He came on, look at what we had, brought a leadership team that realized that our ultimate competitive advantage is the building of our culture. This is logistics, refining, and marketing of oil and gas products. There is nothing quite unique about what we do. It's been done for a long time the same way. Our advantage is to build a culture of entrepreneurship, of excellence, of innovation. And he did just that, systematically creating a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms, developing collaborative leadership widely in the organization. And I was fortunate to join on this journey for excellence and innovation acceleration. And by the 8th year of this journey, we're identifying, prioritizing, and executing to completion over 2,000 innovation projects for value creation. More than $1 billion in financially validated EBITDA, additional EBITDA for the organization. And this organization that was valued at $2 billion, 8 years later, was a $35 billion enterprise. Now, again, this is the formula: a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms, collaborative leadership development widely available in the organization, innovation execution skills widely developed. I'm going to guide you through now how we unleash the power of our people to go for extraordinary in a very systematic way. If you could zoom into this picture, you'd see me in there with thousands of our professionals, working with them collaboratively to identify, prioritize, and execute on what creates value for all in the organization, our customers and stakeholders. So it starts with a foundation of discipline. It starts with the foundation of what I call intelligent business process management, understanding your critical processes, business processes that create value for your customers, and developing tremendous understanding end-to-end with clear accountability and ownership for those. It's not new. It's just a disciplined foundation where you have a different maturity for the processes that you have in your organization, from the recognized level all the way to the fully optimized processes. But by the way, you do this in an intelligent fashion, and the intelligence here does not come from technology. The intelligence here comes from the insights that you have in your organization about how it serves its customers. And the intelligence here is about deciding that some of our processes, they need to be at the optimized level because they are that critical in value creation for our customers. But most of our processes, they should not even exist, or if they exist, they should be at the defined level, because it does not make sense to further develop them. They are not that critical. So you have to make tough choices. You have to know what really matters and what matters some or what doesn't matter at all. Not try to just make everything better, because that's not going to work. Again, this sounds like common sense, but common sense is the least common of the senses in large organizations, including yours. You have to prioritize what creates the most value for the organization, customers, stakeholders, and that includes these processes, and you have to decide the maturity that you need on those processes, if a process is needed at all. Now, there is not one size fit all for this intelligent business process management and the innovation that you build on top of it. Specifically to the innovation that you build on top of it, there will be 3 categories: core, adjacent, and disruptive. The main message that I want to have here with you is that understand that when it comes to innovation, disruptive tends to be 5 to 10% of the total, although you get 100% media coverage on that, especially when it comes to technology. Great enduring organizations and innovation leaders have 90% of their innovation not even connected to disruptive. So keep these concepts in mind, the golden ratio of innovation for value creation. Now, what are the pillars of success for intelligent business process management value creation? There are 3 that I want to share with you. It's governance, it's methods, and collaborative leadership. Governance is, in summary, define roles and structures for the iBPM value creation. The methods are the proven methodologies with clear execution mechanisms and common languages that you may use. It's not as important which method you use. It is more important that you have a common language and a clear understanding, consistent approach. And collaborative leadership, as disproportionately important, you must have skill development for all professionals, not just the selected few, on collaborative innovation for value creation. So quickly on each one of those, I would just lay the foundation here without going too deep because we don't have time for that. From a governance standpoint, you need to develop clear ownership. It's at the process level, it is at the business level, it could be at the product level, it could be at the technology level. The message here, clear ownership. You need to develop collaborative leadership and entrepreneurial skills for leading improvements and innovations that create value for the organization. You need to have serial entrepreneurs and serial collaborative leaders who become coaches for you in the organization. Notice, these are not coaches of methodology. These are coaches of collaborative leadership and innovation execution for value creation. And they are guided by a business champion or a project champion, be it whatever level that you're operating on, and certainly always align with the strategy of the organization and the hierarchy of the organization through a steering committee that oversees how this moves forward. So this very basic structure, if it's missing, you're not going to be able to sustain results towards greatness. So remember, this basic structure with clear roles and responsibilities are the building blocks to achieve disciplined iBPM value creation. So we talk about governance at a very high level. Let's talk about methods. What do we see from a practitioner standpoint when it comes to the disciplined execution of improvements and innovations? We see today innovation as a discipline, to think different, to innovate, to simplify. We also see business process management as core, end-to-end understanding of processes that create value for customers with clear process ownership. And we certainly see lean as a method to increase speed, eliminate waste, and flow on the flow of value creation to the customer, and Six Sigma as a very disciplined approach to reduce variation, satisfy customers. Now, listen, every one of these methodologies separately, they're effective. Combined, they're exceptional, and you can keep adding. You can keep adding, Agile and Scrum as variants of Lean. You could keep adding ADKAR and ProSci. Remember this: methods are important, but methods alone do not transform businesses. Where you're really looking for are collaborative value creation leaders. Those are the ones that transform the businesses. So with that, we move on to the maturity that you see in those organizations for innovation value creation. So what you see in these organizations is that multi-million-dollar organizations, forget about all the stuff that I just talked to you about. I just need a smart guy or girl to lead this thing. I need individual brilliance. An individual entrepreneur can create multi-million-dollar organizations. Make no mistake, intelligence matters. I'm looking for people with intelligence, I'm looking for people with integrity, and I'm looking for people with energy. As a matter of fact, in the order of integrity first, then intelligence, and then energy. Because if you don't have the first one, as Warren Buffett likes to say, the next two will kill you. So individual brilliance with integrity is an amazing thing. And these people have passion, they have discipline, they have resilience. These are the people who are naturally emerging in the marketplace. Now, this will create a multi-million-dollar organization, but that's not enough. If you want to have a multi-billion-dollar organization, you need to learn to scale individual brilliance. And to scale individual brilliance, now you need this iBPM systems and mechanisms to translate the principles into action, to scale the individual brilliance that was created by an entrepreneur or maybe a small team of entrepreneurs. And this requires now governance that I just discussed, structures and roles that I just discussed, and certainly high levels of experimentation with growth initiatives and technology accelerators done in a disciplined fashion, understanding that disruptive is less than 10%, not 100% of your bets, okay? 90% is at your core and adjacencies, and you need to have a portfolio of innovations across those multiple segments. This is the journey that most organizations are at today. They want to be and remain multi-billion-dollar organizations. Now, very few have got to the next level, and the next level is the level of the multi-trillion-dollar organization. That's going to become more and more common because these principles now are being applied in a very disciplined fashion. So more and more organizations will get there, but it is still incredibly hard because you have to do all the previous steps correctly and then move on to this next step. And this next step requires widely developed collaborative leadership and innovation acceleration skills. Innovation is not an escape from disciplined thinking. It is an escape with disciplined thinking. And collaborative leadership skills is not about consensus building. Collaborative leadership skills are specific methods, techniques, principles that leverages the existing hierarchy to lead collaborative value creation. Notice, it's not the absence of hierarchy. As a matter of fact, if you don't have hierarchy, collaborative leadership skills will not work. And that's a whole different discussion we can have for another hour. But collaborative leadership skills is about leveraging the current hierarchy and building through specific techniques, value creation and innovation acceleration at scale. Now, to do this, an organization needs to be built on a clear purpose, which we already discussed on this conference. A culture that's aligned with that purpose, and core values, a strong set of core values that is aligned with that culture. That's the foundation of that culture. Now, if you tell, by the way, these things on the third step to people who are in the first step, they'll dismiss you right off the bat because they cannot even conceptualize. That sounds like fluff. That sounds like high-level abstract stuff, okay? So you need to meet people in organizations where they're at. But understand the full gamut of opportunities in front of us here. So with that, remember, collaboration, innovation, and value creation are the ultimate measurements of this iBPM effectiveness that I talked about above. So I'll give you a concrete example to wrap up here. With an energy infrastructure company, we're trying to implement, technology acceleration everywhere. It's a complete fiasco because we have people who don't understand these very complex underlying processes, respectfully, often coming from IT, very good understanding of the technology or IT, but they do not understand how the processes really run. And the people who are supposed to translate, they're not that good. That's the reality. Because the people who really know, they are too busy in the guts of that process. And even them, they don't fully understand the process end to end. So this sounds like a simple step, but having the understanding of the process framework for your organization at a high level to start end to end is critical, is getting that common mental model of the critical business processes that align with what we do that should be done, not just what we do, but the things that create value to our customers. So you start with that discussion, and this is not a simple discussion with the senior leadership team. Clearly understanding the end-to-end processes and value creation in your organization that matter most for your customer as a very first step. Now you need to meet the organizations where they're at, and you need to understand the culture and the context. In the context of a large energy organization, processes kind of don't matter, because what they're doing is they're doing these multi-billion-dollar projects, not processes. And every one of these projects has very unique traits. So you need to adapt to the reality and the context of your business model. And what we see here is that you have two areas. We have these project teams that are executing, and they need to, we work with them to define their needs, to help them execute the processes, to adapt to process changes and identify process issues. But we do not want to get on the way of this very fast locomotive. You're going to get killed by it. You have to meet them where they're at, try to understand how they operate, and then bring the insights that we get from the field into a set of critical end-to-end processes and process owners that are able to define the process at a better level, to monitor the health, to import best practices, to continuously improve and innovate, and then provide that transfer of knowledge to these project teams over time. You have to have patience. And what you end up with is one side, which is about this execution excellence, that you have to go get things done. And this other side where you're developing based on the observations of the execution excellence and also some best practices coming from outside, you're developing a process excellence that will get transferred into that execution excellence. And this is really what this intelligent business process management does as an interface between process excellence and execution excellence. So I want to get a little bit more practical here with you. And I want to move into innovation through simplification as a way of implementing some of these things and give you a quick example. Innovation through simplification is a very important concept when you are in this journey, because we are all surrounded by incredible complexity. It's really easy when someone comes with a technology and say, oh, if you just use RPA or process mining or AI, your problems are going to go away. Do they have any understanding of the complexity of this process and the politics that I deal with in this company? I mean, that stuff can kill any good idea from a technological standpoint very fast. And worse yet, we have created mindsets that when we have complexity around us, we create solutions that wrap additional complexity around that. And this concept of innovation for simplification is critical. You have to learn that when you're wondering what needs to be added to the systems and how I'm going to build something else here, you have to remember that perfection is only attained when there's nothing left to take out. We have to get to the essence of problems and opportunities and do away with the noise and all the exceptions and all the things that could go wrong, and understand the true nature of the processes that we have and the essence of what drives them. And we have to remember then, when it comes to iBPM innovations, it is not about automation. It is first about collaboration. It is then about elimination, then reduction, and only then we automate. How is that for a conference on automation? I'm saying that it's not the first, not the second, the fourth thing that you should consider. But that's the reality. I'm not here to tell you or sell you anything. I'm telling you to share with you how it works on great enduring organizations. Give you an example. Valve control stations. These are valve control stations that are built on $1 billion power plants. We got a team together because we want to make improvements to valve control station design. There are 120 unique types that we use on a typical project. 120. And then the obvious question is, can we just automate that? Yes, we can. And what we did for more than 18 months, nearly 2.5 years, really, what we did is to, not us, but a team came in and said, oh yeah, we're going to automate this because it's a repetitive process, should automate. But it was 2.5 years, and it wasn't automated yet. Why is that? Because the devil is in the details, because there's incredible complexity in each one of these designs. And I'll just show you one here for you. This is the highest level steps on valve control station design. We have 120 different designs. We have been trying to automate this complexity for 2.5 years, and we're not getting anywhere. There's nothing wrong with technology. There's nothing wrong with what the IT folks are telling us or what the technology providers are telling us. The issue is that the incredible level of complexity that we're dealing with. So what we did is, before we automate, remember, collaborate, eliminate, reduce, and then automate. So let's collaborate first. Let's get together. 2.5 years after going nowhere, we got together and say, hey, let's collaborate. We have 120 different designs. Do you really need them all? And everybody quickly said, yeah, because every one of my designs does something unique. So someone says, well, we probably can have a standard approach. Oh, everybody says, oh, that's wonderful, that's wonderful. And then 20 people sit around the table and they say, we're going to have a standard approach and it's going to be my way. So now we don't have a standard approach. So this is where collaborative leadership really matters. You have the skills to bring people together and say, okay, what if we use 80% design? We don't want to automate everything, but just the essence of what happens most often. Can we do that? Oh, that would be really difficult, and we would have to have multiple designs. But okay, we didn't end up with 20 designs. We have 6 basic designs that can do about 80% of the functionality. We agree on that. That took like 3 to 4 weeks to get to that, by the way. But now we have 6 designs. We have 6 designs that we know that do 80% of the functionality. That's a step in the right direction. Through that collaborative leadership skills and the continuous innovation execution process, we figure that, you know what? We can get the 6 designs now, because the 6 designs, they eliminate and they reduce all the steps with the 6 designs. And then if we reduce all the steps, because now we have not a single design which we wish we could have, but we have 6 standard designs that we could agree on, and that's the key. Now the 6 standard designs can be simplified in this flow. Now we automated that. We automated that in 3 months. Still complex because this is high level. In 3 months, we got this done. And then we realized that once we have this done in 3 months, now it's a block and module that we can put on a software called Plant Vision. And then the 20% other work is actually quite simple, because the base design is there. They just do some additional pipe routing around that, pipe mechanical design around that, and they're done. So this is now 20 times faster. But remember, we didn't get there by automating. We got there by collaborating, eliminating, reducing, and then automating. Now, there are thousands and thousands of projects like that. And I want to wrap up by reminding you this. What matters most? Ideas, methods, technologies, or people? None of them matter, and all of them matter. Certainly, the contradiction that matters most is the contradiction of people that you have to master. And you have to find the right people to drive their ideas, methods, and technologies through them. They are the amplifiers of what you want to do. These people, they have 4 traits. Remember the traits. You're not going to find them on their resume. You're not going to find them on a psychological profile or any psychological test that you have. You have to create a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms, and the innovation execution test will reveal that they have traits of purpose alignment between what they do and what the organization is about. Passion. Not just romanticize love. It's like an arranged marriage. You work your face off and you overcome challenges and you become passionate about it. Discipline, which is not just following a regimented set of rules. Discipline is consistency with your purpose. And resilience, it's not about being stubborn and saying that I never give up. That's stupid. Resilience is about being able to understand the challenges, be empathetic to the resistance, and overcoming the resistance through collaborative leadership. And if unable to overcome, you can also pivot, and you may go the long road, but you go the long road because the purpose that you're striving for is worth it, and you have the passion to drive you and the discipline to stay consistent with that purpose. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm going to summarize for you, your amplifiers of excellence, of innovation, of technology, of value creation, they work for you right now. You're not going to hire them for Google, Facebook, or Tesla. you're gonna develop them and you're gonna create a meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms where they can rise. It requires courage. It requires courage from them. It requires courage from you as a leader to take a chance on them. Then you have to teach them certain skills. You need to teach them how to take different perspectives at problems, because that's the essence of innovation. You need to increase diversity. You need to increase inclusion. You need to increase different perspectives at problems and opportunities in your organization. And those are disciplines that you can develop with them. But one thing that you cannot give them, you can only encourage them. You cannot build courage for them. They still need to have courage, and this system will work that out. Those who have purpose, passion, discipline, and resilience with the underlying courage, they will move. They will experiment. By the way, this courage here is not irrational courage. This is very much based on sound risk management, yet with the courage to act. Not one or the other, but both. And your job as a leader, the ultimate job, other than all these discipline approaches, collaborative leadership skills, innovation execution skills, meritocracy of ideas with clear execution mechanisms, all of that needs to be there. You must also create an environment in the organization where these great people and these great ideas can connect, because that's the ultimate accelerator for excellence and innovation in any organization. Is an environment based on trust, because fear is pervasive in all organizations and it's just getting worse with technology. The antidote to fear is trust, and your job is to create a trusting environment where great people and great ideas can connect. As I said in the very beginning, none of us here can predict the future. We live in times of exponential change and uncertainty, and that's not going to change in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to continue, if not get further down on that direction. But now remember, none of us can predict the future. What we can do is to build a culture of excellence and innovation as our ultimate competitive advantage. And this is not fluffy talk. This is about building the mechanisms that I share with you here, the underlying mechanisms to translate the principles of excellence and innovation into action. And that action demonstrates the behaviors that are associated with your core values and your culture. And that is how you ultimately transform a culture in a period of 5 to 10 years, maybe more. Purpose, passion, discipline, and resilience is also required from you as a leader. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the session. As you know, you can follow the journey of excellence, innovation, acceleration with myself and through the conferences that we do, and these wonderful leaders and organizations who participate with us, also on LinkedIn, to the extent that our clients allow us to publicize the information. We're always sharing the publicly available components of this journey of excellence and innovation acceleration. There's no retirement from this. There are only 2 stages in life. Remember, you are either growing or you're dying. So choose growth over death and keep going. Find your purpose and commit to the ardor of pursuing it with excellence is the ultimate message that we all should consider. And there's no end to that journey. There is no time that we stop doing that. So ladies and gentlemen, I am going to stop showing my screen. I'm going to change my head back to the conference proceedings, and I want to set the stage for what's happening tomorrow for you. It's fantastic to see all of you engaged in this full day where we had amazing leaders of excellence, innovation, technology, sharing these concepts of change and value creation with us. So what's coming up tomorrow? You can access the agenda. I put the link on the chat several times. It's RPA live agenda. You can access your agenda yourself. But for those of you who don't have the agenda right in front of you, we'll start tomorrow at the same time we started today, which is 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time, United States. And I will start with a basic introduction, because some people, kind of like the one that I did today, showing people how to use the interface, because there are lots of new people who show up on day 2. And then I will pass it on to one of our first great leaders, the head of strategic development insurance for EMEA at SS&C Technologies. That's Dr. Zainab Izir. She's going to talk about digital transformation, disrupting the way businesses operate, and impact 5 key areas of any business model: process, product, platform, people, and change management. She is a researcher, professor, and industrial practitioner of this fantastic session she's going to share with us. Then we're going to shift gears, and we're going to have Dr. Matthias Kirschmer with us, and he's going to talk about robotics process automation, right into the guts of what we're here for. He's going to talk about it as being, is it a powerful solution or is it a dangerous illusion? So it's a very intriguing title for his session, where he's going to show the perspectives on intelligent automation, the pros and the cons of it, which is, we always keep this this perspectives very balanced, because life is in such a way, like we just discussed, where you have multiple perspectives pulling different directions. Then we're going to have a global leader of robotics process automation, of process mining, of intelligent automation, hyper automation, and I'm talking about UiPath. UiPath is going to be here to discuss in more detail about how to overcome obstacles to accelerate your automation program. And UiPath is going to bring 2 clients. We're going to bring the Director of Digital Supply Chain Transformation for SDI, and we're going to have the Head of Process Automation of Merck with us as well as part of that discussion. So this will be a panel with 3 tremendous minds when it comes to intelligent automation as it is happening today around the world. And we're going to wrap up tomorrow's session with presentations from the Vice President of Engineering, Presidio, and he's going to talk about RPA and customer service. So it will talk about how RPA can provide answers on major challenges that are facing the customer service industry today. So 4 extraordinary sessions tomorrow. Thank you again for being with us here today. Tremendous engagement, awesome questions. Keep asking questions that add value to you, because that enriches every one of our sessions. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And wherever you are in the world, have a great rest of your day. And we'll connect back here at the same channel at 8:50 a.m. US Eastern Time. Thank you, everybody.